Okay guys, this is lesson for finding the exact value of the trigonometric functions, part 2. Okay, in part 1, we briefly talked about the unit circle and how to find those values, and I give you the slides right here. Watch part 1 and also copy down this slide. Okay, now let's move on to the problem. Okay, in number 1, we have to find tangent 30 degrees. Okay, so now we're going to draw the angle and 30 degrees from here to here, right? That's step 1. Step 2, we're going to make a triangle by connecting the terminal side to the x-axis, okay? And then make a triangle. So this angle right here is 30 degrees. That means this angle has to be 60 degrees, and that's 90 degrees. Now remember, in the 30, 60 special triangles, right? Across from 30 degrees and 60 and 90, across from 30 was x squared root of 30. I'm sorry. Across from 30 was x, right? And across from 60 was x squared root of 3. And across from 90 is always 2x. So we labeled it, we're going to label the size, but we're not going to use x, we're going to use 1, okay? So across from 30, which is right here, is 1, and across from 60 is going to be 1 square root of 3, and across from 90 is 2, okay? And now when we do the problem, when we do the problem, we look at tangent 30 degrees from where the origin is. So tangent is opposite over adjacent, right? So for opposite, it's going to be 1 over square root of 3. And since we can't have a square root of 3 at the bottom, we multiply square root of 3 top and bottom. Then we get square root of 3 over square root of 9, which is square root of 3 over 3. Then the last step, we have to determine whether our answers can be positive or negative. So since my angle falls in the first quadrant, anything falls in here, A, stand for all functions, is positive, okay? So the answers is positive and not negative. Okay, let's move on to number 2. In number 2, I have cosecant negative 210 degrees. So step 1, we draw angles. Step 2, no, we're not done with the angle yet. So 180, and then we need another 30 degrees right there. So this is 30 degrees. And then step 2, make a triangle by connecting the terminal side to the x-axis. And then step 3, label our size. So across from 30 is 1. Across from 60 is 1 square root of 3. And across from 90 is 2. So again, we always look from this angle's perspective, okay? So cosecant is a cousin of sine, right? And we know that sine is opposite over hypotenuse, so cosecant has to be hypotenuse over opposite. So hypotenuse is 2 and opposite is 1, so my answer is 2. Then we have to determine it's positive or negative. This is all students take calculus. So all right here, since our angles fall within the second quadrant, then that means only sine is positive in this quadrant right here. So since cosecant is a cousin of sine, then our answers, we can say it is positive and not negative, okay? Okay, let's move on to number 3. Let's see. No, that should be number 3. Okay, number 3. Negative 780 degrees sine, right? So negative 780 degrees, so we still draw our angle. So 1 circle is 360. 2 circle is 720. And that means we need a little bit more, like 60 degrees more, right? So now I'm going to make, so this is 60 degrees. I'm going to make my triangle by connecting the terminal sides to my x-axis. So this is my triangle right here. So this is 30 degrees, and that's 60. So across from 30 is 1, across from 60 is 1 squared root of 3, and across from 90 is 2. Now we find sine negative 780 from this angle perspective is 60. Okay, so sine negative 780 degrees is opposite over hypotenuse. So opposite is across from here, see that? Which is square root of 3, and hypotenuse is 2. Okay, we don't have to square root at the bottom, so we're safe. Okay, now the last step we have to determine is our answer is positive or negative. So all students take calculus. In this quadrant right here, only cosine is positive, but I have a sine, right? So that means my answer has to be a negative on this one. And that's the answer right there. Okay, let's move on to number 4. Okay, in number 4 is a special case because when you draw 270 degrees, look what happened. 180, 270, right there. It will not give you a triangle, right? So this is a special case. So first label the dot. The dot is 0, negative 1. And we talked about this in part 1 of the lessons on Friday. That right there is cosine, and that right there is what? Sine. Because this is cosine and this is sine right here. Okay? And we know tangent is sine over cosine. So sine is negative 1, cosine is 0. Negative 1 over 0 is undefined. And if you were to press this into a calculator, you will see it will say domain errors, okay? It does not exist. So the answer for this one is undefined.